Okay, Dave, it's all yours when you're ready.
Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, November 17th. It is now 7:01. Town Council meeting is a sewer commission.
Roll call, Council President Goslin,
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico,
Here.
Councilman Messier,
Here.
Councilman Licciardi,
Here.
Councilwoman Williamson.
Here.
Participating communities, Town of Coventry, Town of Situate, City of Cranston, City of Warwick, Town of West Greenwich. We have a quorum on record. Minutes of the previous meeting. Resolved that the minutes of the October 20th, 2020 Town Council meeting acting as sewer commission is hereby accepted.
Move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Reports, plant managers report.
Good evening. My name is Harrison Sangolo, reporting to the commission, giving a report for the month of October 2020. The influent facility this past month, the facility experienced an average of 3.5 mgd, which brought the daily max to 7.4. The CBOD removal, the facility is required to remove 85%, but in this case, last month, the facility removed 99% of the BOD. It also removed 98% of the total suspended solids. In regards to the removal of nitrogen, the facility removed 6.2 milligrams per liter. And with the total phosphorus removal, the DM requirement is at 0.1, and the facility achieved 0.1 milligrams per liter. In regards to the sludge removal in wet tons to Senegal, the facility removed 578.9 tons, which translates to 150 tons of dry sludge to Senegal. There was 0 loads sent to the landfill this time. So the total sludge, again, removed from the facility was 578.9 tons. As in regards to the collection system, sewer backups, we had 1 backup in the public line, and this was on 1020 on Maple Ave. A home experienced sewer overflow. There was sewage in the basement, so we put in a claim and also notified DEM. We had 2 blockages in the private lines. They both came from Smith Ave. In regards to training for staff, last month staff trained on slip, trip, and falls. This is in preparation for the cold winter coming, and also conditions that might be created due to frozen snow. We had 0 odor complaints from both the facility and the pumping stations. The facility also experienced 0 violations. Items of interest, like everybody else, we are also being hit heavily by COVID-19. We have a number of people that are out in quarantine. A couple of them tested positive, and we are hoping to get some people that were in quarantine but are being allowed to come back to work. 1 came back last week, and the second one is coming back tomorrow. That's all I had for tonight.
Any questions for Harrison? Thank you, Harrison.
Thank you.
This is the industrial pretreatment program report.
Good evening. The industrial pretreatment for the month of October. During the month of October, we received self-monitoring reports from our significant industrial users. Rhodes Technology, Bradford Soap, Warwick Ice Cream, Amtrol, and Immunex Amgen. We also did our annual inspections for one of our facilities, and that was Warwick Ice Cream. The company during this past year ran pretty much near normal operations, and it was found to be in general compliance with the regulations. There are some minor corrections to their pH control system, but in general, they have done a good job this year in operating their pretreatment system. With regards to food services, there were 3 that were inspected during the month of October. The Tavern on the Lake is now doing business as Morse Tavern. That ownership was changed. The previous owner resolved the outstanding issues with the program, and a new permit was issued for Morse Tavern. With regards to the Mexican Grill, this facility will open in the space formerly occupied by Cake Station. The facility installed a grease recovery device and a new permit was issued. La Casa de Soto is a new facility not yet in operation. This facility is being located in conjunction with an apartment building. So we're trying to investigate the collection system. And based on our initial inspections, the line is not operating correctly. So the owner will be investigating these problems and correct it. With regards to a lint permit, the new cleanery on Tyoke Avenue in West Warwick was issued a new permit. Plans were reviewed for JP Morgan Chase, 499 and 501 Sandy Bottom Road in Coventry, and 97 Sandy Bottom Road in Coventry. Letters were issued to each of these facilities in compliance with the regulations. With regards to the private treatment facilities, as you may recall, the Center of New England has been in receivership for several years now. We have had difficulties in having the, let's say, the bankruptcy manager submit standard operating and maintenance procedures for this facility. We continue to work with them on developing a proper program, but they still resist in this effort. And it's important because as this facility merges out of bankruptcy, we need to be on top of this issue moving forward. And the program will continue to work with the property manager to ensure that an O&M manual is submitted and followed. With regards to new connections, 272 Cohasset Avenue, Anthony's Fire Station, and 294 Cohasset Avenue all began work. Some are in various stages of completion, and we're waiting for some to have as-built to approve the final inspection. That's all I have for pretreatment.
Any questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim.
Okay, Director of Administration report. Year-to-date operating and debt expenses for fiscal year 2021 as of October 31st totaled $4,703,242, which is 50% of the annual budget. Fiscal year 2021 sewer usage collections through October 31st totaled $3,911,833, which is 59% of the total billed. Of the total collected, 50,769 represents interest. Fiscal year 21 sewer assessment collections through October 31st totaled $255,401, which is 92% of the total billed. Of the total collected, 1,135 represents interest. Cash and investments through October 31st totaled $3,233,300. That's all I have.
Any questions for Christine? Thank you, Christine.
Thank you. Old business, 103 Providence Street.
At the direction of the council, I guess it was either the September or August meeting, The council directed us, Harrison and myself, to investigate the problems that were reported by the homeowner at 103 Providence Street. As you may recall, the question is whether or not the properties along Providence Street are connected to a private line which was formerly owned by the mill system or connected to the public lines on Providence Street. During the month of October, both the staff at the treatment plant and my staff went out to test the properties along Providence Street. Now, we began at 91 Providence Street, which is up at the top of the hill, just past the funeral home, and going down the street, 91, 93, 95, 103, and then 107. And we began to test each one of them to find out which direction their wastewater flow goes. As you know, Providence Street and the river run parallel to each other. And what we found was, as we began testing it, starting at 91, we dye tested, throwing dye in their facilities, found that the wastewater was flowing to the private line that's adjacent to the river. We were unable to get into 95 Providence Street. They were not home at the time to allow us in. But based on what we've observed, it is more than 90% probable that they are also connected to that private line. We tested 101, 103, and both were connected to the private line. 107 is not connected because between the properties between 103 and 107 is where the line leaves the private easement and goes into the town's public sewer on Providence Street. I provided maps, should have referred to the map, but I provided maps in your packet which identify the various connections that we made. We spoke with one of the landlords when we were out there. One of the landlords were there, and then we spoke with her, and she indicated that it has been the practice of all these homeowners that are either landlords or occupants to control the private line within their segment of the property because it runs between properties and before it enters Providence Street. We were asked to take a look at what can be done if it could be tied into the public sewers. It is, extremely difficult, if not impossible, to tie in. There is an extreme elevation change between the front of the property and the rear of the property. It's over 10 feet. Coupled with the fact that many of these, all of these, in fact, have basement apartments. So what is happening is, in order for them to tie in, they would, number one, have to buy an Environmental One pump for their facility. And since it's a multi-unit, it's not a conventional smaller pump, it's one of the larger pumps. It would then have to be hand installed and hand dug. The difficulty would then be to leave the property with this. You can see the photos that I provided. There's a retaining wall, a stone retaining wall that causes, it may be extremely difficult to connect a low pressure sewer into this area. So I really think at this point in time, the access to the area is blocked by the fence at 103. This is a private line and should remain a private line. With regards to the recommendations for homeowner at 103 Providence Street, Harrison staff TV'd the line. We TV'd the main, or what I'll call the private lateral connection, private sewer, let's call it, distinguishing it between the lateral sewer, which is from the building to the main. That was clear. It wasn't broken. It was in good shape. It was flowing good. At 103, we were able to TV that lateral. The lateral is from the property, from the house to, let's call it the main. That showed that roots were intruding on it and the pipe was broken. And that's where the cause of the problem is, that this line needs to be cleaned and needs to be corrected. Under the sewer ordinance, the homeowner is responsible for the lateral from the house to the main. Whether it's a private main or a public main, the homeowner is responsible. And we're not talking a lot. This is a very small distance, maybe 20, 30 feet the most, that this needs to be corrected. She has had this homeowner has had a backup before. This backup was primarily caused by this issue. What was found to be the case was as the material collects in their pipe, and then when they go to rot it to clean it out to get flow from 103 out to the main, that clog or that clump of material enters the main and causes the main to block up. So if the homeowner needs to replace that lateral, once that lateral is replaced, this problem should go away or be severely reduced. Also, the homeowner is responsible to put a backflow preventer in. The insurance claim the last time for the backup in the property, they were compensated. Now, if a backup occurs because the homeowner has not installed the backflow, the homeowner will not be compensated for any damages as a result of this action. So that was our assessment of the condition. So if there's any questions.
So I know Mary Beth, Jason, Licciardi, Councilman Licciardi, and Harrison, I sent you an email that I received from Miss Narasian, Hilda Narasian from 103 Providence Street. She wanted that to be put on the agenda, but that was sent to me on the 15th, so I wasn't able to get that on the agenda. I know she's on here now. I don't know if she wants to speak. Jim, the question I have in Harrison, did all these residents from 91 all the way to 103 pay sewer assessment fees when back in the day in the 70s and 80s? And if so, why would they if they had their own private line?
They are still tied into this. First, I don't know. We can do some research and find out if they paid, but they are tied into sewers.
Oh, I understand they're tied into
They're
sewers.
tied into the public sewers. So I would drop this off to Tim to make a decision legally, whether the assessment whether the assessment is due back in the day, but they are connected to sewers. So we're providing them with a service. So,
I
it doesn't
understand
only,
that.
but see, Dave, you have to realize that the assessment is not only for the sewers in front of your property, it is for the treatment plant and downstream pump stations. So it's not just that. Now, I can't answer the question. We can do some research. I don't know. That's probably from the beginning of time. I don't know if we have those records.
73, but
I can look back in the records and see if assessments have been paid in the past.
So we can certainly do that. But the problem is not, if we look at it, the problem is not in the main. Whether it's private or public, it's not there. The problem is in the lateral connection from the house to the main. That's where the problem exists. So that's what needs to be corrected. If that's corrected, this problem should go away.
and which I will say I do understand from house to main is usually the homeowner's responsibility, whether it's a private main or a public main.
And this is the easy one to, relatively easy, and shouldn't be that expensive because it is in grass, it is in the backyards, as opposed to cutting open the road and making the connection. So I just,
All right, Harrison, if you can just do me a favor and
Mhm.
give that email I sent you today to Christine so she can put it on the next agenda for, I know Ms. Nersian would like a rebuttal to this report anyway, so I told her I would put it on the agenda.
Okay, yeah, sure. We'll do that.
Okay, it'll be on the next agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Can I move on or are we all set?
I didn't see either party that's involved in that area raise their hands. Actually, I'm sorry, Mrs. Padula did raise her hand, so I'm going to allow her to talk. Hi, Mrs. Padula, I think you're on mute. If you could just unmute.
Hi, so I've been dealing, can you hear
Just
me?
I'm sorry, just state your name and address for the record.
Pamela Padula. It's the properties 101 Providence Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island.
Thank you.
So my question is, I've been dealing with this for 3 years. And when is she gonna get a compliance to do this? Because I have to have Roto-Rooter come out periodically. All my toilets back up in the back. I pay sewer taxes. This is not fair to me that I've been dealing with this for so many years now.
So, Mrs. Padula, you're at 101, which is the house next door?
Yes.
So, Jim, why would 101 back up if it's the lateral at 103?
because what ends up, what we're being told, and our staff, Mrs. Padula was out there and did talk to our staff. It's periodically, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Padula, but when the line is being, the line blocks up at 103. When they go to clean it and rot it, then it causes a plug in the line in the main. And they're rotting it because material is built up because of the roots and everything else. So once that gets into the main, then the main is plugged until it's clean. Harrison and his staff used to go out there periodically and clean the main until they put the fence up where we can't access it anymore to clean it. Am I correct, Mrs. Padula? That doesn't.
Is last time I had it cambered because my line was clean. Hers wasn't. So I paid $500 plus on the weekend again because her line wasn't clean. I went over to her and I talked to her and she doesn't want to hear it. She wants no part of fixing her lateral, which is unfair to me.
David, you're muted.
I'm sorry, but yeah, that's rather interesting to hear because this is, I know in your report, Jim, it does say this, and I know in Ilda's rebuttal, it kind of has some comments about the neighbor too. So I think, it does need to be fixed one way or another. Now, if it's somebody who's cleaning their pipe and it's clogging the main, and it's a private main, what authority do we have?
What about me?
No, Mr. Padula, I understand. I'm asking what the town's authority is on a private line also, because I understand a public line is ours, and this trust me, I want to get this fixed. If it was up to me, it would be a brand new line from 91 to 103 all the way down. But that's up to me. But
Well, why can't we do that? These pipes are
because
old
even if
pipe.
we replace, because Mrs. Padula, if we replace the main, even if the council or anybody authorized to change the main,
Mhm.
if it's the lateral causing the main to get clogged up and the person who has the lateral doesn't want to fix the lateral, then what do we do?
You put her in compliance. My toilets back up periodically. My poor residents have sewer coming in through their bathtubs. She needs to be in compliance. This is not fair to me. This is a health issue.
I can understand that.
She told one of my residents that she doesn't even flush her toilet. So once a month, we get this horrific smell that lasts for the whole day with the windows closed. I mean, come on. Well, our drinking water is right next to it. I mean, what is this gonna come to? Typhoid or hepatitis? This is a state health department issue. And I've been putting up with it for 3 years. Something needs to be done.
Prior to the 3 years, have you had problems with that line, Mrs. Padula?
I did, but I kept my lateral clear. I've had, the Roto-Rooter come out, clear the lines. I haven't had much trouble, but every time it happens, it's Ilda's line, and she knows it. She absolutely knows it. And I don't know why all of a sudden we have this smell once a month. It's horrible. And my poor tenants, I mean, I have tenants that have lived there for 10 years. I have all long-term tenants.
Dave, is Ilda on the meeting?
She is on.
Would she like to comment on this?
She hasn't raised her hand.
Because she knows she's wrong. And I'm sure that when I go over there this week, she'll be chasing after me.
Okay, the hand is up now. She would like to speak.
Okay.
Mr. Badul, I'm going to put you on mute and I'm going to let Ilda speak.
Okay.
Ilda, if you can just unmute and just state your name for the record. You're on mute. Try again.
How is it now? Wow.
Do you have two computers on? Because you're logged in twice.
Oh. 40 of them.
Hilda, I see you're logged in twice. Do you have two devices logged in? And that's probably why you're echoing.
How is it now?
You're echoing.
I just eliminated her second line, so
Okay, try now, Ilda.
Hello?
That sounds
How is
much
it?
better. Much better.
Okay. Well, Miss Padula is lying. What can I say? She's lying. That is not true. Anything this she says is not true. She has a problem, I think, with my property. And I really wouldn't bother to even answer her. But I did write about it, so I think people need to read that.
Yep, and that will be on the next agenda, Ilda. But
Just let them read that.
But if Ilda, if your lateral is the problem, then that is the homeowner's responsibility. And I
It's
gotta,
exactly right, but my lateral is not the problem. They are making it up. Mr. Jeremiah, how do you know it's the problem?
Because we went in there and looked at it. We
And
have a camera that goes up the
Yeah.
lateral.
yes,
and-
I
and-
was
and
there.
this- And we saw the roots, we saw the
Yeah.
broken pipe.
Well,
So if
I'd
you
like
have
to see
roots,
that picture. If you look, I'm not going to object to it if you show me a picture. But first of all, every time Ms. Padula has somebody taking care of her job, whatever she has over there, I guess she's been clogged up or whatever. I don't know how long she has been like that because this property has been vacant for 5 years. So if she had problems before, she calls someone, and every time she's trying to do something, I see a car trying to first fix her, I get clogged up. Even my neighbor Melo says, "Oh, every time Padua has somebody cleaning, you are getting clogged up." So it is just the opposite. But Mr. Jeremiah, you don't know that. You're inventing it. Okay?
Jim and Harrison, do you have video of the broken pipe? And has that been shared with Miss with Hilda?
Harrison, do you have a video?
we the camera that we use does not make video. The camera that normally makes the videos, we only use it in a bigger pipe, but she has a smaller pipe where our camera won't fit. So we only use a push camera that has a camera on it, but you can't make a video. But we did take a picture of the roots
Video
that were in
of-
there.
So
Just a
Harrison,
picture.
do you have a picture of the broken pipe?
I can find it. I believe I still have it on my phone.
I mean, that's
Who-
something
who
that should have been shared with Ilda a long time ago if that was the case.
When to be honest with you, it's because our camera is a black and white camera resolution. It wasn't very clear. That's why I never shared it with anybody. It wasn't very clear looking. You know, again, our camera is not of good quality. It's black and white, and it wasn't very good. But you know, a few of us looked at it when the camera was in there. When it came to taking the picture itself, I took a screenshot of the screen on the camera. That too is very poor quality. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't
So
say that you give it.
How
the
did you
best
see the
picture.
crack then?
There was a number of us who were looking at it,
Mhm.
and we all concluded there was a crack in there.
I
And
was
we also saw
looking at
some
it
roots.
too, but I didn't conclude that.
David, for the
Jim?
moment, let's put aside the crack pipe. Let's put aside the roots. There is a backflow preventer that needs to be placed in accordance to the ordinance. This property at 103 had an insurance claim. As a result of the insurance claim, the property owner was paid for the damages. As a result of that, a backflow preventer has to be installed. So, at
Jim, with the
some,
backflow, if the backflow preventer is placed at 103, is that going to solve the problem for 101?
no, because the pipe is still cracked.
Correct.
But it
Okay.
will solve
So
the
that-
problem for 103 because it won't back up into her property.
I got you. I understand.
I mean, I don't want to sit here and let two residents duke it out here on our meeting at all. And I know Mrs. Padula seems very frustrated and Ilda seems very frustrated. And I'm kind of a little frustrated too, because with hearing that the pipe's cracked and then hearing our photo isn't quality and then hearing that nobody's ever been shared this photo at the residence is a little disturbing to me, considering it's been going on for over a year now.
Well, mean,
Mr. Gosling,
the truth is we are running an investigation. You know, even for us to go into a lateral, that wasn't something we are supposed to do. To get into that lateral, we had to dismantle part of the piping in the basement. I mean, that, to be honest, that is not something we're supposed to do, but we did it anyways. And also, like I say, the camera that we use is not the regular camera that we use when we are making video of any lines. You know, we had to try and figure out what was going on. So having said all that, I think again, like Jim says, we should focus on what the real problem is, and that is the replacement of the lateral and also installing a backflow preventer. Once that is done, you know, I don't think we'll be having this problem anytime soon. So I didn't really share the picture. There wasn't much there to see.
So Harrison, my question would be at that point, and Mrs. Badula is right, at what point, if Ilda's line is broken and causing the problem, at what point does the town have the right to have that get fixed? Because if it's causing problem up the line, then so be it. But if it's the main, then, you know, that's another whole discussion. You know, and I think what I'm hearing from Jim is crap is getting built up in 103's line, whether it's food, toilet paper, whatever it is, and when they clear it, it gets stuck into the main and it doesn't go down. And then that's when 101 backs up. So at this point, I mean, we obviously gonna have a neighborhood problem here between, in 101 is pretty far. Like when you're looking in the backyards, it's a good 25, 30 feet away that it's backing up.
See, the difficulty with this is it's a private line. There was a main that we were maintaining, that we could get in there and clean. Harrison and his crew would get in there regardless of the laterals that were causing the problem. We'd get in there on a regular basis and clean it. But this is complicated more to the fact that it's all private. There's no easements. There's a fence that's now been installed where we can't access it if we need to. And I don't blame the homeowner for putting a fence. It has nothing to do with that. It's just a matter of how does the town get in there to clean something that's private? That's the difficulty here. And I don't have an answer for that. And maybe legal can share an answer, but it's never been a town, there isn't even an easement that I can find in town hall for this line.
So at this point, and I'll refer to Al and Tim, is this a possible neighborhood lawsuit or against each other, or?
Based upon what Jim has said regarding the private property and private lines, and if the damage or the problem is from the lateral, it's private property. If Ms. Padula is not happy with the results of her discussion with Ilda and vice versa, they both have the rights to file claims against the individual's property insurance. But I mean, at what point in time, if Ms. Padula is correct that it's a health, safety, and welfare issue, and the Department of Health has to go into both homes, they may face the risk of losing their tenants until everything gets cleaned up. But I mean, there comes a line when you're going to cross that line regarding eminent domain and taking. You really can't interfere with private property. And again, if there's a better way to produce the evidence that can be produced to Ilda, and then perhaps she can get it resolved. But I mean, if there's a report that has been made, I would request that the report be provided to both of the property owners. And if there's other evidence pertaining to either a newer video or newer or better photographs in color showing each what the problem is, perhaps they can resolve it. But I mean, I don't know how the town's going to go in with 101 and 103 Providence Street and then not have to do that to every lateral that's in this town off of every street. Because now, once you set the precedent here, it'll happen everywhere else. Nobody, and again, I don't know what the expense of fixing this is. Jim, you might have a better idea, but I don't think the town wants to start getting involved on private property and utilizing town employees and time and energy to fix private property.
May I speak? Hello? Hello?
David.
You're all set, Ilda. Go ahead, and I'm going to let Pam Padula speak in 1 second.
The real problem is the clay pipe. That's the real problem. Aside from that, Padula doesn't have a problem with me. I don't have a problem. The only problem is that there are roots in the main pipe, which is about 100 feet long or something like that. I know Padula replaced part of it, and she didn't continue replacing it. It's the roots in the pipe, Mr. Jeremiah. That's all. Why are you trying to put blame on people? And I don't know why Miss Padula is in it. I have no idea. She never talked to me like that. She never told me anything like that. So, and I don't know why Mr. Songolo also is doing what he's doing. But I can prove it, huh? I can put my own camera in it. You forget that, I think.
Well, Ilda, if you want to have a company come out and record your line and report that back to us, I'll have no problem with that, because if your line's not cracked, then we need to have that discussion. But if your line is cracked, that is your responsibility to fix it.
But
If my line is cracked, I would fix it. But it's not the problem. The problem isn't going anywhere. The problem are the roots. And the way Harrison is cutting those roots and pushing them towards my lateral. That's why my lateral is get clogged up. I don't know why Pam is getting clogged up either. I mean, she has to investigate a little more and find out why she's getting clogged up, because this property was vacant for 5 years. Why did she get clogged up? Why did she change her pipe? Why did she cut her trees? This is a tree problem, root problem, and that's all.
Thank you. Mrs. Padula, you're unmuted if you want to speak. Oh, Mrs. Padula, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you
Yes.
now.
I started having problems when she moved in 2016. She told me that she couldn't rent out her apartments because her toilets didn't work. So she's definitely lying. And let's cut through all the bull. We all have old clay pipes. They all need to be replaced. Why don't we just all get together and install a new liner? We'll do a balloon insertion. I mean, come on. I mean, even if she fixed those cracks, I'm still going to have problems because my pipes are old too. I mean, everyone's pipes are old. These pipes are from 1910. I mean, come on. I mean, I have no problem, fixing them. I have no problem getting the whole 4 units, all 4 houses together and fixing it. But this property is going to be so devalued with old clay pipes, because sooner or later they're all going to back up because they're old and they're clay and they're cracked and they're brittle. I've seen them myself. I dug a hole. I saw it.
So, Mrs. Padula, you're willing to work with all 4 neighbors and try to get that resolved?
Absolutely. I already contacted one of the neighbors. I don't even know, he was supposed to join the meeting. He's at 91. His name is Nick. And he's a new owner. He's only owned for a year. So he has no clue. I don't think he even has a basement apartment. But his name is Nicholas Mallard. He's from Pawtucket. Next door, I think it's Andre. I didn't talk to them. I know that the father passed on recently, but I had this camera. I mean, they told me that it was next door, so I know. And I mean, why, Gilda? Why are you telling people you have to, after you wipe yourself, you're throwing it in a bag? You told my residents that. How dirty is that? And I did speak to you on this matter. I told you my last clog that you needed to change your lateral and fix it. So there you go. You're the liar.
All right, I'm gonna.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Come on, get off! Get off!
I'm gonna mute both residents. I can't allow 2 people to sit on here and argue and have a neighborhood dispute. I apologize, but I think the 2 of you need to get together with the other 2 neighbors and see what you can do to resolve the issue.
At the end of the day, am I correct that it is a private line? The clay line is a private line. It is a private issue at this point in time. I think that's what I understand Jim is saying. And it sounds like, yes, the residents, if they can get together and resolve it, that would be the way to go.
Jim, thank you for the report. Harrison, if you do have that photo, please look for it. And we can move on.
Yep. I will.
Okay. Next, we're going into the resolutions. Sewer Commission meeting schedule for the 2021 Sewer Commission schedule resolutions. Resolved that the Sewer Commission appointed by the Town Council will meet on the third Tuesday of each month and on the fourth Tuesday of May at 7 p.m. per the following schedule. Everybody has the schedule before them.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay. Next is the,
I'm sorry, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Do we got to take a roll call vote on that, Christine?
I
Sure.
believe so.
yes,
Yes. So Councilman Lichardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
okay. Resolved that the sewer subcommittee appointed by the Town Council will meet on the first Thursday of each month at 3 p.m., excluding holidays, when it will be moved to the following Thursday, prior to the monthly sewer commission meetings per the following schedule.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Lichardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Okay, resolved that the Sewer Use Appeals Board appointed by the Town Council will meet on the first Thursday of each month at 4 p.m., excluding holidays, when it will be moved to the following Thursday per the following schedule. Just keep in mind that Candace emailed out everyone a corrected schedule for the sewer use appeals. Did everybody receive that?
Yes.
Okay.
Any comment? Do I have a motion?
I'll move the
I'll make the
resolution
motion.
as corrected.
I'll
Second.
second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Lichardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Okay, next we have the request to amend the fiscal year 21 budget to utilize undesignated fund balance. Resolved per recommendation of the superintendent of sewers that the town council president be authorized to approve an amendment to the fiscal year 21 budget whereby the sewer enterprise fund will utilize $78,700.00 of undesignated fund balance as a source of funds to purchase a portable engine generator. Funds will be designated against account number 12002200599 capital projects.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Lichardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Next is the bid award for the portable engine generator. Resolved per recommendation of the superintendent of sewers to award the bid of the portable engine generator contract number 2021-04 to Craft Power Corporation of Woburn, Massachusetts, in the amount of $78,700. Funds will be transferred from the unrestricted funds.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just, maybe to put a little flavor on it, this is a situation where we were borrowing generators from Warwick from time to time. While we were contemplating or doing the budget, it was decided that we would look for a used generator. That didn't seem to make any sense. Given the cost difference, the sewer subcommittee decided that the superintendent should go out and take a look at buying a new one. Hence the reason or the need to move the funds in the previous resolution. And my understanding is, Harrison, we're ready to go. It will take a little while for us to receive the generator though, won't it?
That's correct, yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Next, we have the consent agenda. Resolved that the consent agenda, having been posted, all matters having been referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendations, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and
For the
second, any
consent.
discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes. We're in public comment. If anybody has any public comment regarding the sewer department, please raise your hand.
Dave, I just have one question.
Go
Can I
ahead.
go?
Yep.
Harrison, what's the status of staffing at the plant?
It's getting close to critical right now. We have a total of 5 staff members that are out, and
Is that COVID related?
that's all COVID related. Yeah, we had
Okay.
2 positive test results, and then the other ones are in quarantine awaiting results. So
When do they do back? Are they? I'm sure it's staggered when they come. When they're
it is
allowed to-
staggered. Yeah, it is staggered. We have one gentleman coming back tomorrow, and then I have a couple that are in quarantine pending results. As soon as we know what the results are, that will determine when they're coming back. And
So is
one
that-
gentleman's wife posted positive today, so he's going to be out for a couple of weeks.
Okay, so we have 4. So as of tomorrow, we'll be down 4 people.
Correct. Yeah.
All right.
So
How about? Go ahead, Mary Beth.
No, I was just going to say, Chief Varone, that's a question that I might have. So we have someone who was tested negative. Their spouse is positive. So tell me the length of quarantine that's necessary.
So it would be 14 days from the day that they started to isolate from each other. So from the last contact, it would be 14, even though he tested negative. All right, the wife is positive, he's negative, he had contact with the wife, he has to quarantine for 14 days from the last contact with the wife.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, one more. How are we? I know people at the plant work in specified areas. So if somebody's assigned to a certain job and they're out, what happens?
Well, if it's an area where we had people in a rotational shift, then we will cover it with that person who's on the rotational, and it will mean that they won't be rotating until the other person comes back. If that's not the case, or if it's a case where there's more people out in that shift, then we're going to have to move manpower around. Being in a state of emergency, declared by both the governor and the town manager, we are allowed to move people in different tasks just to keep the facility going. So that's going to be very flexible. People will be moved around just to make sure that everything is accomplished.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions? If not, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Just stay on this link and we'll get started in a couple of minutes.
Please
You need
stay
to do-
safe, everybody.
All right.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Night.
Good night,
We'll have
everybody.
have a good Thanksgiving and we'll take a